what I want to do first is give you a close look at what's actually going on here. What you're looking at is multiple first responders. We have firefighters, ambulances, police. We've also had reports of 2 different helicopters flying people out of here. Now, as far as what we do know right now, this is all according to a spokesperson for the Gauntlet Hayride here. His name is Scott Lansley, and he tells us that this did happen here. It was a haunted hayride accident, and it appears that the hayride did in fact roll over. We know that there have been multiple people hurt.
A Central Maine teen has died after a hayride crash in Mechanic Falls. More than 20 other people are hurt. Many of those victims are from Messalonskee High School. Fox 23's Brad Rogers tells us what witnesses and investigators are saying tonight.
Investigators are looking into a possible mechanical failure as the cause of this horrifying crash. Now, last night, about 500 people were waiting in line to go on the haunted hayride. 2 of those people told us they saw a trailer being hooked up to the back of a Jeep and a group of mostly teenage girls getting on the back of that trailer. Minutes later, both Jeep and trailer were racing out of control down a hill. Investigators say the runaway haunted hayride sped down a steep hill on a trail through the woods with apparently no way to stop it.
It appears there was a mechanical issue and the vehicle could not stop, and the operator attempted to stop the vehicle but could not do that, and that's when it left the roadway.
The Jeep towing the trailer full of people hit a tree, sending its passengers of mostly teenage girls flying into the woods.
We took off down over the hill. Once we got there, it was complete chaos out in the woods.
Mike Willett and Dan Poisson were on a hayride right behind the one that crashed.
You know, there was just people everywhere on the ground, bleeding. You know, people were coming out of the woods, couldn't walk, and we just tried to help them out the best we could.
There was a young girl receiving CPR.
That young girl, 17-year-old Cassidy Charette from Oakland, part of the soccer team at Messalonskee High School, died this morning at the hospital.
This is hitting everybody very, very hard. You know, our thoughts and prayers go out to the families.
Scott Lansley is a spokesman for Harvest Hill Farms, who operate the Gauntlet Haunted Hayride. He told us most of the hayrides are pulled by tractors. Mostly it's tractors that are pulling these hayrides. Last night it was a Jeep. How come?
I don't know. You're the one that told me that the state police said that it was a Jeep. I'm not exactly certain why.
According to investigators, they were told the 1979 Jeep CJ5 has been used before to pull hayrides. That Jeep has now been moved to a secure facility. It is now the focus of this investigation into this terrible tragedy.
We'll be doing a complete vehicle autopsy to see if there are any mechanical defects.
Haunted hayrides are not licensed in the state of Maine, so there are no regulations and no required inspections. Even so, investigators tell us this has never happened before in the state of Maine. The one positive to come from all of this, it looks like everyone else injured is going to be okay. In Mechanic Falls, Brad Rogers, Fox 23 News at 10.
Hearts are heavy in Oakland tonight, where news of Charette's death is hitting the community very hard. CBS 13's Marissa Bodner is live in Messalonskee High School, where she was a junior. Marissa.
Yeah, John, that's right. As you can imagine, it's been pretty quiet here tonight, but students were actually very vocal on social media throughout the day, expressing their grief, also remembering Charette as smart, kind, as well as athletic. She was a member of the girls' soccer team here at Messalonskee High School. This morning, several of her teammates came together on the home field to share a moment of silence. And again, all day, students were on social media. They've been using the hashtags #RipCassidy and Messalonskee Strong. Even though this community is hurting, they are really rallying to get through this together. Investigators say Charette was on the Harvest Hill Hayride last night with friends, one of them her boyfriend, 16-year-old Connor Garland of Belgrade. He's at Boston Children's Hospital, listed in fair condition. According to a Facebook page aimed at helping his family financially, he has back injuries and is awaiting jaw surgery. Now, there's no school tomorrow because of Columbus Day, but when students return on Tuesday, they plan to wear blue for Charette and Garland. School officials say they want to keep a normal routine for students, but some say that's going to be the hardest part.
Going back to school, having her not be here, not seeing her with Connor. Just when they're in the hall, you're not going to see Cassidy with Connor anymore. It'll just be Connor. He'll be upset. it'll probably affect all of his friends, including me.
I just hope we can get through this. It's going to be difficult.
Investigators tell us they're going to be looking at two things. One, if the brakes failed and why. And secondly, they're going to look at the weight of the trailer and its 22 passengers as possibly being too much for that Jeep to handle down a steep hill. Investigators say the person who was driving the Jeep, 54-year-old David Brown of South Paris, hit the brakes to try and stop, but couldn't. Instead, the Jeep and a trailer full of mostly teenage passengers sped up down a steep hill and crashed into a tree. We tried to speak with David Brown, but we're told he is still recovering from his wounds and is not ready to talk about what happened. Investigators have towed the 1979 Jeep CJ5 to a secure facility. They plan to do a complete vehicle autopsy to see if there were any mechanical defects. They also plan to question the operator of the Jeep, David Brown, the narrator, and passengers who survived, including Connor Garland, whose girlfriend, Cassidy Charette, didn't make it. And we, of course, will be following that investigation closely. Now, Pumpkinland here at Harvest Hill Farms is now back open today, but the Gauntlet Haunted Hayride you see behind me is now closed for the season.
The other question here tonight, of course, is what sort of regulations are there when it comes to hayrides? You may be surprised to learn, I was, that there are no regulations, no licensing required here in Maine or really across the country for hayrides just like this one. CBS 13's John Creasos has been looking into that. Safety advocates, John, are asking for some changes. You've been digging into these claims. What have you been able to find out?
Yeah, Greg, we've been working all day to find out what's required and what's not. Here around me on the farm, you'll see lots of rides and attractions, including that haunted hayride, which ran through these woods right up until Saturday night. But after we've been reviewing state and federal law, we found that the state here in Maine doesn't actually check the rides like haunted hayrides like they do other things, such as roller coasters, for example. So the difference here, amusement park rides, according to state law, and other things like circuses are inspected and licensed, but things like hayrides on farms are not. It's not required by state or federal law. Safety advocates have tried to change that over the years to try to prevent accidents like what happened here over the weekend. Investigators say a flatbed trailer loaded with at least 22 people was hooked up to a Jeep for that haunted hayride through the woods.
There needs to be, I hate the word regulation, but at least a minimum safety standard that every customer who pays a price to enter the hayride should expect that at least a certain level of safety has been achieved. But currently, there's nothing.
And Messalonskee now is taking action. He set up a Facebook group called Cassidy Charette's Law. He wants lawmakers to change laws in Maine so things like hayrides and other amusements here on farms would have to be inspected. A farmer and trailer association that we reached out with had no comment on that proposed change.
We have gathered today with heavy hearts.
A moment of silence for Cassidy Charette unites her classmates on the Messalonskee field hockey team. And the Eagles with their longtime rivals from Skowhegan. All players on both teams wearing a blue ribbon in her honor.
It happened so fast. Such a tragedy to lose somebody, especially in such an accidental way.
On Saturday night, the 17-year-old Charette was killed when a haunted hayride crashed and overturned. Her boyfriend, 16-year-old Connor Garland, is at Boston Children's Hospital with back and jaw injuries.
Cassidy's a center mid for the soccer team. Connor played football last year, but he plays basketball, a great baseball player.
Jason Turner and his wife have kids at the same school. She created the Messalonskee Strong ribbon that's spreading like wildfire on social media.
It takes a community sometimes to rally around these things.
Today, all admission fees will go to the Charette and Garland families. Others are creating decals and t-shirts with the Messo Strong message, with all proceeds being donated.
That's what it's about, right? That's how we work together. That's why we call it Messalonskee Strong. So
it's a symbol of strength that's resonating far beyond the RSU 18 district. Field hockey players from Lawrence High School came to show their support.
They left their heart out on the field.
They played really clean.
And they played for Cassidy, too.
Cassidy's looking down on them today, and she's saying good job.
Now tomorrow will be Messalonskee's first girls soccer game without Cassidy on the field. No doubt that will be a difficult day for everybody involved, but as you saw, there is so much love and support here in this community.
We want this to be a time for them to remember her and to remember the impact she had on their classmates.
We really do love this community. I went to Messalonskee. I'm from Sydney. I know SAD 47. I know small town Maine mentality, and we just really rise to the occasion when one of us is hurting, and this is exactly what I'm feeling right now.
Now, there'll be a candlelight vigil here at the Red Barn later tonight. They're hoping to get started right around 5:50 or so. They're also passing around a memory jar where kids are being encouraged to write down their favorite memory of Cassidy Charette. We're live in Augusta. I'm CBS 13's David. Greg will send it back over to you.
This is new video obtained by CBS 13 and 13 Investigates moments after that deadly hayride crash in Mechanic Falls over the last weekend. The video shows a helicopter landing to bring some of the worst injured to hospitals. Now, the people who were there that night, they're raising some new concerns about the vehicles used to haul those hayrides. They tell CBS 13 investigative reporter John Chrysos they say they didn't see any tractors hauling the hayrides.
We spent all day trying to get answers from Harvest Hill Farms. The farm's lawyer confirmed late this afternoon several different vehicles were used to haul the hayrides, he says including tractors. But customers we talked with say they were on rides with dozens of people pulled by old cars and SUVs.
When I went there initially, I thought we were going to be on a tractor.
But instead, Kaylee Ball says her gauntlet hayride at Harvest Hill Farms was pulled by an old Subaru wagon with the roof cut off, like this vehicle we saw while at the farm the day after the accident.
All the vehicles that they had were all chopped off in half and boards around them, and off we went.
She was there last Saturday night when 17-year-old Cassidy Charette was killed and 22 others were hurt. Police say a hayride pulled by this 1979 Jeep lost control and crashed into a tree. Tracy Malloy was there that night too with her 3 children and fiance.
Every time I've ever gone to a haunted hayride, it's always been tractors, and I mean big tractors. I've never gone on a haunted hayride with a vehicle chopped up like a junkyard vehicle hauling these things.
Did you see any tractors pulling the trailers?
Not one.
Lawmakers want to make sure this never happens again. Senator Tom Saviello is sponsoring one of several bills to regulate hayrides.
It basically says that if you're going to use this or put one in a parade, you at a minimum have to have an affidavit that says I've inspected the brakes, they're working, and I have working lights. It's really for the public to know that they feel safe when they go on these things.
Rides like these have never before been regulated in Maine. Safety advocate Ron Melanson says they should be.
It's our children. And should we do all we can to help protect our children?
Other lawmakers from both parties are calling for bills that will require equipment inspections and more insurance for operators. Christy Dulock, whose children attend Messalonskee schools, says she welcomes new regulations.
I think there should be regulations, absolutely. I mean, if it's involving safety of many kids.
Lawmakers seem reluctant to regulate hayrides with laws that are too stringent. But the sponsors of these bills all believe something must be done to ensure the public's safety on hayrides. In Augusta, Brad Rogers, CBS 13 News.
It means a lot to me. It means I get to give back to the community, and it means I get to honor my sister.
This was a long-time dream of his sister, Cassidy Charette. In October, the standout student and soccer player died in a tragic hayride crash.
She was 2 weeks away from becoming a big sister.
Connor Garland was her boyfriend. He wanted to keep her dreams alive by starting the first school program in this community.
I think it makes her really happy because she knows that it's all for her.
The enthusiasm was overwhelming. An unprecedented 100 students applied.
That's a record. We haven't ever had that in any school before.
A testament, they say, to Cassidy's big heart and even bigger impact.